I take photographs. I'm a tour guide, so I'm also studying to be able to take tours to new and interesting spots. And I'm also learning how to teach English as a second language because filmmaking has sort of hit a dead end in South Africa. So one has to find other ways to find income.
I know the feeling. I had to reinvent myself completely.
Yeah, I know. So that's what we all have to do, I think. So that's okay. It's fine with me, but it certainly keeps me busy.
Well, and you need to be kept busy because apparently you get into trouble if you're left alone.
Who, me?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
I was actually talking to Karen Brooks about you. You remember Karen Brooks? You've worked on a couple.
Yes, yeah.
She's a friend of mine.
Okay.
For
So
years,
what? She's been telling you all dreadful stories about me.
Absolutely. She told me you were terrible to work with. She's
Okay,
quite hardcore to work with as well. I mean, we did a couple of productions with her, and she's, you know, she gets her money out of you. Gets good value out of you.
No, but also she's like really organized and
Very incredibly
she like
organized.
makes everything happen, which is nice. Yeah.
Dave, why did you become a photographer?
Because I love making images. When I was young, like most 4-5-year-olds, I drew a lot, but I went on drawing a lot, and I'm artistic, so I write poetry, and then when I was at varsity, I went there straight after the army, and after this dreadful 2-year experience in the South African Defence Force, and varsity was just wonderful. And I started off with a BA in English and psycho, and then everyone I was meeting who was really interesting was either doing journalism or sociology or politics. So like next year I changed to do journalism.
Dave, my screen's frozen. Is everybody else's screen frozen?
Yes, mine is also frozen.
There we are.
Okay,
I'm back.
Okay, welcome back. We missed you.
Thank you. Yeah, so at Rhodes, while I was doing journalism, I met a guy who was a third-year photography student, and he led me into the darkroom, and that was just magic. Actually watching an image in the developer come from white, just come up. And so I persuaded my journalism lecturers to set up a darkroom, because we were also documenting black spot removals in the Eastern Cape and the violence in the townships. So
when are we
had our own darkroom, which meant that the police wouldn't ever be able to see what we were photographing. And
okay, I think we're losing him again. Yeah, looks like we've lost him again.
it me, Mandy? Is it my side?
Yeah, it's your side. Where have you gone?
Is it? Okay, that's odd.
There you are.
Yeah. So
Talking
from
about
there,
when were you at varsity? What year is that? The 80s?
I was at varsity from 1977 to 1980
Okay.
at Rhodes. So, you know, that's where I like learned how to photograph on 35 mil. And
Do you miss it?
I like used that, bought my own cameras and things. And then I began working at the Rand Daily Mail as a journalist there. And but I was also doing photographs on my own. I photographed Neil Agate's funeral, various music concerts that were held in black areas where you were the like only, you know, there were like 5 whiteys in this crowd of 40,000 or whatever. So I mean that was fun, and then in '83 I went overseas for the second time, and one afternoon I saw 3 Jean-Luc Godard movies, one after the other, and I just thought, wow, that's what I want to do. So French New Wave sort of drove me into filmmaking. So I flew back like next week, and I got into the film industry, and I've spent 35 odd years in there. And then about 6 years ago, you know, the film industry, because I like to make documentaries, and as you probably know, there aren't really documentary slots in South Africa for good feature documentaries. There's not one on the whole of SABC. They're all half hour or like 1 hour slots. Anyway, so I began making my own films and things, and then that just, I like ran out of road. I'd made a film, The Craddock 4, which won Best South African Documentary at the Durban International Film Festival, and it screened all over the world, but it took me 5.5 years to get it screened on SABC, because SABC doesn't.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah. So anyway, so I just, and then my like eyes also were failing like a little bit. I always used to have perfect vision, but I found that my eyes weren't good enough to see on a screen this big, which you holding over here, and you shooting on high definition, that sometimes it would actually be slightly out of focus, not enough for you to see it, but when you looked at it on a larger screen, it would be out of focus. And I thought, well, I can't go on like this, because, you know, it's a huge risk for anyone who wants to hire me. So I'll only do my own thing. So I moved over to photography, where I can actually have my eye on an eyepiece, and I can see the focus better. And I'm only working for me, so the only risk is that I'll be annoyed with myself. So, you know, so that's really how I've like landed up here. But along the way, the whole 35, 40 odd years that I've been taking photographs, I've accumulated, well over 100,000 images. And so now what I'm doing and what's keeping me busy as well is going through all of those images and getting rid of all the rubbish and grading and digitizing negatives and all of this, which is a very time-consuming thing. But I've also moved over and I'm doing like lots of wildlife now as well, which I really love. Love shooting wildlife.
So when we were discussing images,
yes.
when we were discussing images, and I said, let's do like some portraits. You sent me some really nice photos, like nice people smiling. And I said to you, they're not edgy enough. They were beautiful pictures, but they weren't edgy enough. So I hunted through some of your pictures and chose what I wanted people to see. So I really hope that you don't mind the ones I've chosen, and I hope everybody else doesn't mind the ones I've chosen. I can send the ones that Dave, how many did you send me? 147. He sent me 147 pictures to go through. That's like
yes, and I'm giving you the option. Mandi, I'm saying, I like all of these images, but, I don't know what your audience is, what they're like. So you choose, and then I will get an idea also of what
how dark and twisted we are.
What your audience, yeah.
How did you end up in some hotspots?
Well, I ended up getting hired when it must have been the sort of early 2000s, around about 2003 or whatever, on a UNICEF shoot in South Africa. And it was with Lawrence Fishburne.
Wow.
And yeah, and so we did that shoot, and on the last evening or the second last evening or whatever, there was a sort of party at the Apartheid Museum, and this American woman who had hired me was there, and there was a party. There'd been all the speeches and people were like drinking, and then there was some like music and dancing, and this young black woman got really aggressive with this white American woman, and I had to sort of intervene and try and get her away. And it was just, that was, things were just like a little explosive. So got her out of there, and she thought I'd saved her life and everything. So I ended up working with her on a whole series of films that we went all over. We went to India, to Afghanistan, Somalia, Cote d'Ivoire, Sudan, Kenya. So that was, and Central African Republic as well. And then I also had a contact, because I used to do lots of shooting for international services. I've filmed for CNN, BBC, Yorkshire TV, most of the major broadcasters, PBS in the States, so I ended up meeting a filmmaker from Canada, and she hired me to film 2 films with her, separated by about 3 years, about HIV/AIDS in Africa, following the UN special, excuse me, the UN special envoy for HIV/AIDS in Africa, a wonderful man called Stephen Lewis, who would go around to all these countries. And so with her, I went Zambia, South Africa, Kenya, Uganda. So we've actually traveled around a hang of a lot. Rwanda, with her as well. So yeah, it was nice because working on these human rights films and things gave me a real insight into what happens in the kind of Africa that no one sees, except who actually lives there. But tourists mainly never see any of these areas. So, and often we would go in just after a war or after there'd been unrest, like in Kenya after those xenophobic riots in 2008. We went in just, I think, like a month afterwards, after things had like settled. And so, we were speaking to refugees and finding out what had actually happened and all of that. So it's been hang of it interesting.
It sounds it. I mean, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, and you get to meet people, like one when we were in the Sudan, we went to this refugee camp and to look for a family to interview, and there was this 14-year-old girl, but statuesque, tall, absolutely beautiful. And if she'd had a start anywhere else in the world, she could have become, a super model. But here she was, just stuck in a refugee camp, looking after a mother and some smaller kids. And it may actually have been one of the photographs that I sent you, man. Yeah.
It was, yeah.
And so, and I mean, it's you just meet this human spirit that just cannot be broken by anything, by war, by famine, by, just absolutely amazing. And that's why I think Africa is just such an incredible place to live, and the people are just amazing.
They are. They certainly are. Should we have a look at some of those images?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. This guy, are you guys seeing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I can. Yeah.
Tell us about him. He's the guy that I used on the invitation.
Yeah. He's a warlord. We went to Darfur with UNICEF, and we flew to Al Fasher, and then we went down to a little village called Abu Delek, and we interviewed, because it's a like Muslim area, the men and the women have to be separate. So we interviewed all the men together, and we interviewed the women on their own. And so with him, we asked him, so what do you guys want? And he said, we want guns, power, and money. Okay.
Me too.
Fine. And he looked so angry and so disillusioned, and so he it was actually one of the scariest photographs. You know, I almost expected him to leap up and you know, smash me over, because he just, that look in his eyes, and you know, the eyes are the window into someone's soul. So what you see in his eyes is just, you know, it was unbelievable. And then after that, we went and spoke to the women, and we asked them what they wanted, and they said, we want peace, we want to go home, and we wanted good education for our children. And you know, it's a patriarchal dominated society. So who will win out there? You know, it's just absolutely horrible, and it explains exactly why, you know, this war goes on, and why it's just, you know, it's men fighting for power, money, and using guns.
Okay, I'm just trying to.
Can
you see that one?
Yeah. Okay. This was a guy in Kenya, up near Eldoret, which is where, well, it's on the way to Iten, which is where all the long distance runners train. But this guy had been displaced, and there he was mending a soccer ball, and you know, just not, I mean, it's sad, you know. It's like I try to tell stories with my photographs, and I think you can just see in his expression the sort of pain and experience that he's been through with the xenophobic riots, and you know, how he has to live. And if you actually look at that soccer ball, it's you know, it's pretty worn out.
Yeah, it looks finished.
Yeah.
Did you ever want to get involved? I mean, did you ever want to kind of feel the need to do anything for them? I mean, and kind of feel how hopeless it was to even begin?
I have. I mean, when you traveling, you know, far away from home like that, it's very hard. But I remember working on a series here locally to create awareness about HIV/AIDS and that, and we went down to Orange Farm, and we were going to remake a house that these 3 AIDS orphans lived in. And you know, we went down there and we filmed it as it was, and then we were like, next day we were gonna bring a whole lot of things and fix up the house and give them a bicycle and some balls and cuddly toys and things like that. And I just felt really moved by it, and I landed up supporting their food for about 3-4 years until they finished school every month. But you know, when we were in Rwanda, we were in Kigali, and we went to film at a like AIDS orphanage. So we arrived at the AIDS orphanage, just like a convoy of 4x4s, you know, all these important people. And I jump out and I like run ahead because I want to get a shot of Stephen Lewis getting out of the car and like walking up and into the orphanage, where all these little orphans, you know, I suppose from the age of about 2 to about 8, all like there in these pretty little like dresses and, you know, frills and looking all like dolled up in their best, were like waiting for him, and they were going to sing. So I like ran ahead and I knelt down, and I was filming him with the camera here, like this. There's a hand grip, and then the like eyepiece is here, and the camera is here with the lens there. And like next minute, I just felt this little person here, and this little girl came and she just hugged me. She just came to me and she grabbed onto me. So I'm still filming and I'm sort of crying at the same time, and my eyes are, you know, and then the like eyepiece fogs up, and and so then I like stand up and I have this camera in the one hand and this little girl in my arm, and I'm trying to film this whole thing. It was wild, but you know, wow, I've been really privileged to experience some of these things. And you know, whenever I get into the bath, I just think, you know, I'm thankful that I actually have water, that water's clean and that it's hot. Because, you know, when we went to northern Côte d'Ivoire, there were women there who would walk, I don't know, 4 or 5 k's every day to a well that had this brown, muddy, dirty water in it. And all they could get was you know, one of those, like a 20-liter drum or whatever that they would carry on their head. And that was the only water they had, and that was for drinking, cooking, washing, everything. And,
I've actually got that picture here somewhere.
Yeah, and that, you know, it just really humbles you, because you know, you like realize that in fact, you know, probably half of humanity on the planet don't have access to good, clean water. And, you know, so we are actually very lucky. We are incredibly lucky. And, you know, I try to remind myself as often as I can of how lucky we like really are. This guy here was a protest against Jacob Zuma.
Oh, this is local?
Yeah. This guy was a local homeless man, and it was at Library Gardens, I think, in about 2016. And yeah, he just walked by, and I got 3 photos of him, and this was the best one.
This is quite a picture, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you just look at the textures in his clothing and the skin on his hands, and, you know, you can just see it's a rough life being homeless, you know. And it's easy for us to just dismiss the guys at the robots who begging, you know. But oh man, we are so privileged, and they've got nothing, and the government's doing like nothing. So, you know, it's really awful.
You sound like you're going to get into your soapbox any second, David.
What? As if what?
You're going to get onto a soapbox any second.
Yeah, yes, why not? You know, I don't think that anyone who makes images is neutral. You have a point of view, and that view, the frame that you have, necessarily excludes everything beyond it. So when you make a photograph, it's what you choose to be in that frame is what gets seen. And so you can exclude things and you can distort the image that you make, or, you know, it's a whole complex subject, but I don't think that anyone who takes photographs is neutral. So soapbox, yes, absolutely. Why not?
And these three guys?
These three guys were our escort in Uganda. We went up there in 2005 when the Lord's Resistance Army was really active. And so there's a town up there right in the northern end of Uganda, near the Sudanese border, called Gulu, Gulu, and it's famous for the veranda kids. So what would happen with the Lord's Resistance Army would come in, and they would grab children from the villages, and the women or the girls would have to become concubines for the commanders, and the boys would be forced to be soldiers, because boy soldiers are more fearless and more reckless because they don't understand what they're actually doing. And so we went up there to film these veranda children, where in the evenings or like late afternoon, these children would stream into Gulu from all the surrounding villages, and they would sleep on the verandas. And then like next morning, they would go out again to school or wherever they went. And so there were these UNICEF tents and the verandas where they would sleep, you know, body to body like this, like sardines. Was also an incredibly moving experience. Anyway, so we were up there, and our VIPs and staff and everything, we all had flak jackets and helmets and traveling in like armored 4x4s. Excuse me.
That's really intense.
Hmm?
That's very
What?
intense. I mean,
Yeah,
flak jackets
no.
and helmets and...
No. Well, I mean, you know, we could actually have been ambushed at any moment. So anyway, so on the way back now, I needed to get shots of these armored 4x4s and these guys who were our escort. So and you know, to try and do all of that wearing a flak jacket and a helmet and operate a camera on the back of a bouncing bucky is just crazy. So I left all of that behind, and I was wearing this like white shirt, and I thought, God, you know, I'm like absolutely perfect target, you know. Anyway, so I got onto the bucky with these guys, and I got all the shots that I needed to, and this was like one of the stills that I did. Yeah. So that's the story of that. But there was no ambush, so
I'm glad there was no ambush.
Yeah, me too. This was in a Tanzanian refugee camp up in the northwest of Tanzania, you know, right in the corner with the lake and Burundi, Rwanda, and DRC. So for me, this picture speaks to me of you know, trying to rebuild a family life in this sort of new environment. You know, it just, there's not much, there's no work, there's probably very little food, and things aren't easy, you know. And yet, you know, with the warm tones, you get to feel the humanity of these individuals. This old man was watching us film at a school in Afghanistan. We were up at Bamiyan, which is where the Taliban blasted the Buddhas out of the niches in the rock, these huge Buddhas that they had. So they destroyed this priceless like artwork or
Yeah, they blew them all up, didn't they?
Cultural heritage, yeah.
Yeah, terrible.
So we were there, and just next to the airstrip where we landed, there was a New Zealand Army unit there, and we like went there one night. It was absolutely horrendous. Brought back some bad memories and things. But anyway, we went out from there in 4x4s, you know, the like usual like UN convoy. And we went to the school, and while we were filming, I just saw this old man sitting like watching us, and I just, you know, lifted the camera and went, and there it is. You know, I do that a lot when I'm like working, like when we went there to Afghanistan and to India, due to the danger and all of that, I had to do the video and the stills. So that would mean, well, and audio as well. So I would have a radio microphone on the VIP, which I would monitor with headphones, and I would do video, and then every night, so I'd shoot like a little video, then I would stop, grab the stills camera and go back to video, go on, you know, absolutely nuts, you know. But so I learned how to work incredibly fast, and how to grab things. So many of my photographs, I learned how to just scan and just, yes, there's a photograph there and there and there, and I do that. I just shoot them off really fast, and I've landed up with lots of those images. This is a window in a house in a refugee camp in El Fasher. El Fasher is in Darfur, Sudan, Western Sudan, and this was a window with some mealie meal, I would imagine, in the little packet, and a sort of cup and a plate. And I just thought it was, with the cracks in the wall and the contrast between the blue and the ochre, it was just a really nice photograph.
Yeah, and the textures are quite amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually working on a series of all of these windows. You know, like spaza shops have a like a little hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you find that all over Africa. And so I have all these photographs of them, you know, and I actually want to do a series of them. You know, I do those, I do doors, I do windows, I do bicycles. They're all themes that I sort of work on as I go along. And then there's also this element of decay and the art of nature, where nature just provides through the decay the most beautiful colors and patterns and extras. Andy?
Are you looking at a horse?
Eh?
Are you looking at the horse?
At a horse? No, I'm looking at the wall still. Okay, we're like waiting for it to.
Are you waiting for the horse? Okay, there's the horse.
Oh, there it is. Okay. This is in Timbuktu. And, you know, everyone says that Timbuktu is at the end of the earth. It's like so far away. It's as far away as Timbuktu. But, you know, Ali Fakapura, the musician, who is from Mali, he said, that's wrong. Timbuktu is actually at the center of the world. And he's right. If you look at a map, you know, the conventional atlas that we have of the world, you'll find that Timbuktu is pretty close to being in the middle. And it was also when Europe was running around in the dark ages, you know, in skins and things, there were 3 universities in Timbuktu, and they studied like astronomy and music and, you know, commerce and all the arts and religion and everything. So it's actually an incredible place to go to. Not so easy to get there. It took us about 3 days to get there, and I think about 3.5 days to get away. But we went there to film the manuscripts which survive from the 11th, 12th, and 13th centuries. And what actually happened was we flew first to Dakar in Senegal, because we had to fly there in order to get a flight to Mali. And then we flew to Bamako, which was the capital of Mali, only to discover that there were no hotels that could fit us in, because Muammar Gaddafi was in town. And so, you know, all the hotels and everything were all full. Anyway, so we managed to find a spot and everything, and then like next day we flew up, or the day after, yeah, we spent a few days filming the film archives of Mali. You won't believe what it's like. It's a large room, and it has no glass in the windows, and it's really hot. It has this tin roof, so the sun beats down. So all the things that that these incredible film archives have recorded from, you know, independence and the 50s, 60s, 70s. These archives are sitting there in these cans about this big and exposed to all the things that film has: dryness, heat, dust, and you know, it was just tragic to think that Africa's history is being looked after like that. And, you know, there's like no money because the money gets taken by people who want guns and power and money. Anyway, so all of these guys, these were all Tuaregs who had come into Timbuktu to greet Gaddafi. And we got there and it was like, wow. I mean, we were staying at the home of the local English teacher, Juris. And there's a photo of him as well, Mandi.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's that guy in the purple in that shop with all the yellow.
Oh, that's such a cool picture.
Yeah. So here were all these Tuaregs in their finery. And they were all like lined up down the road. I mean, it's just what a spectacle. You know, and we were just so lucky that they were all there when Gaddafi was there and they'd all come in. So we just went mad, you know, we just shot photographs and video and we went mad with it. And then we like stopped for a like rest and we were standing here with these horses because we'd been filming all the camels. And I looked at this horse and I just saw all the beautiful way the bridle and the bit and everything was decorated. So I actually did a whole series around that as well. This here's it's just a black and white from a museum in London. A man waiting at the bottom of the stairs. Here's another staircase. Stairs are another theme of mine. That's all about journeys, you know, entrances and exits and going up and down. This was in India. I think this was in Qatar. We landed up playing with this man's children. We landed up playing some cricket with them. They were absolutely mad for cricket. So we like bowled and batted there with them a little bit while we waited. But yeah, that was, yeah. This is the one, the photograph from Côte d'Ivoire, northern Côte d'Ivoire. These women, just every day they walk for miles from the village to fill those up with water.
What a life, huh?
Yeah, and then so I was there actually with Lucy Liu, you know, the like actress. She was
yeah. She had Charlie's Angel at one point.
Yeah. So Lucy, I worked with Lucy actually about 3 times, I think. Once in Lesotho, once here, and once somewhere else. But she actually, we were doing a whole thing on like water. So there were, UNICEF was actually getting these boreholes done and things that they could pump water without having to, you know, with a well, like use a rope and get the water out that way with a bucket. So, yeah. So this is where I learned to be really glad to have water, and how incredibly hard life is without it.
Life without water is appalling. I mean, I know how much we moan if we haven't got water for like 8 hours or something. It's crazy. Has the image changed? Are you looking at a little girl? No.
No, not yet. Little cup. What, with a plate on her head?
Yeah, that one.
There she is. Yeah, okay. This was in Central African Republic. We'd been at a market, and obviously I think what happened is people would send their kids in with orders, and then they would get the food and go back home. So this little girl had this food on her head, and I just photographed her as she went by.
Are those avos or oranges? I mean, what is it?
No, those. No, I don't think they're avos. I don't know what they are.
Don't know what they are.
I think they are. They might be, you know, like monkey apples.
They do look. I mean, the texture for the skin isn't mango texture, so I don't think that they're.
No, I think they're monkey apples.
Okay. Dave, there are some comments in the chat box which I'd just like to read quickly.
Okay, sure.
Let's go back. Is your work available? Hang on. Is your work available to see anywhere else, Dave?
On my websites, there's 3 websites. There's www.shadowfilms.coza, which
I'll share that on the group.
Yeah. And then there's my photographic website, which is http David Forbes photography.coza without the www. And then there's my tour website, which is Causey Tours, UKHOZI Tours, one word, .coza.
The painting on the wall behind you, is it a painting or a photograph? The picture?
Painting.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. The one with the gun was very powerful, really beautiful, such interesting pics. And mango. clearly not a mango.
And
okay. Has the image changed to a little girl? Are you looking at a little girl in front of a door?
No.
This one.
Oh, this one. I just actually sold this one.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I just sold a print of it now. Well, last week. This was in Somalia, or more accurately, Somaliland, which is a semi-autonomous region on the northwestern edge of Somalia. And we were driving. I mean, I've shot so many photographs just driving by, you know, in the convoy, in the vehicle or whatever, just out of the window, bang, bang, bang. And, you know, most of it's rubbish, but every now and then there's like something like this. And I mean, even I would photograph out of the window like this, and then as we went by, I would like swing the camera around and just shoot backwards without even having an eye to frame it. No, but you know, it's amazing because after a while you train yourself to actually get quite reason. I mean, there are even a few photographs that I've shot like that where I actually haven't aimed it really, other than just going, and I actually haven't had to crop it at all. It's like perfect. And it's like, I don't know how that happens. You know, luck, I suppose. But I think also it's the more you work at it, the like easier it is. Yeah, this was also at a market in Central African Republic. And you can see all the Chinese clocks and, you know, almost everything you'll find up in the middle of Africa. It's just everything is Chinese and it's cheap plastic stuff. It's horrible.
Then the new colonialists.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is a very interesting picture.
This guy in the white sort of turban and that allegedly is Gaddafi, but we think it's actually a body double. And I don't think he would, you know, roar around in a 4x4 with all his sort of goons hanging off like that, because he could easily be murdered like that. So we actually think it's
Dave, I think we just lost you again. Okay, looks like we lost him again. I'm just going to get the last photo out in the meantime, just in case. Because this is...
Sorry, it seems to be my end. Hey, I'm messing everyone around with this. Sorry.
This is one of my favorite photos of yours.
Internet. Okay, this is a Central African Republic. We were driving along, coming up this way, same as this guy, and I saw this guy with a rifle on his back on this motorbike. And then as we went by, I saw this dog on his lap, and I thought, no, I have to have that. So I forced the whole convoy to a halt. And jumped out and ran up to him. He'd also stopped, and I said, can I take your photograph? And he said yes, and so that was it. But he's a hunter, and that's his hunting dog and his rifle, and he goes into the forest and he hunts.
And that dog looks so happy. I mean, look, the dog looks like it's just so used to hanging out on a motorbike. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen on the back of motorbikes, I have seen crocodiles tied up on the back of motorbikes. I've seen cows. I've seen sheep. I've seen other motorbikes on the back of a motorbike. I mean, and you know, when I was making a film in Iten once about these runners, you know, Kenyan runners, we like landed up hiring these guys on these motorbikes. They call them borders because they go from border to border. Yeah, and of course it's also on a onomatopoeia, border. But so we would, I would actually get on the back of this bike the wrong way around. So I'm actually facing the back with a camera, and this guy would drive along in front of the runner, and I could get, all these angles, just filming like that. But I mean, your life is in their hands, no
Well,
crash or straps or anything. It's just, you just make it happen. And it can often be dangerous, the things that you do to make documentary films like that, especially in Africa. It would never happen like that in Europe or America. But that's part of it. It's like you make a plan and you make it happen, and
in Europe or America, the dog would be wearing a helmet and goggles.
Yeah.
And its name would be Fifi with a little leather jacket.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
It certainly
And
would be Joe Cool just hanging out in the bar.
Would be a Harley, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This looks like a little off-road jobby. Dave, this is my favorite photo. That's why I saved it for last, because I just love, I said to you originally, I love this photo. I think it's absolutely just wonderful. And I think being a dog lover, it speaks to me more than anything else,
Yeah.
And I really, really love it. And are there any other questions? Natalie, are you still in the room? You had a question for Dave earlier.
I am, Mandy. Yeah, I had just wondered, sorry, can I talk?
Yes.
I had just wondered how, when you see really tragic situations, how do you separate yourself from it and how do you cope with it afterwards?
What you have to do is you have to create a distance. When your eyes on that eyepiece, you can actually do anything. I don't know how to describe it, but you lose your fear of anything. You lose a sense of what's around you. Even though I had to learn to film with the one eye and with my left eye open, so I could see what was around me. But you do get traumatized, and I have also been debriefed sometimes, and I have actually had to deal with it because it is painful. But what I also do is I try to balance with that the absolute indomitable spirit of human beings, that no matter how bad things are, you still find the child that'll smile, a smile that just lights up the world. It's very humbling, and it's painful, but it's a wonderful joy that you can also experience in these situations.
Natalie, does it answer your question?
Yes, thanks very much. Thanks for that.
Okay.
That photographer, the guy from the Bang Bang Club who killed himself.
Kevin
Carter. That was a lot to do with that photograph with the baby with the vulture, and it just because of the way the picture was framed, it didn't tell the actual story of what was going on around him. And that was the thing he carried with him forever.
You see, I was lucky in the sense that I wasn't ever directly in a war zone where there was hot lead flying. When we went in with like UNICEF, sure, in Afghanistan there'd been like car bombs and IEDs and landmines and whatever, but you weren't ever sort of directly in the line of fire, as it were, and you didn't sort of see bodies lying around everywhere with blood all over them. So in that sense, I was spared the trauma of direct war. But what you often see afterwards is worse, in a way, because everything's had a chance to sort of cool off, and then you start to think about what happens now, and how will these people live? And when you see children being born in a refugee camp, and they're going to grow up in that refugee camp, I mean, what future is that?
Yeah, that's a very bleak sort of thought of the future,
I mean, this is why I feel that one has to have a stance, and that's why I have to climb on my soapbox. But you've only given me one hour. I need much more than that, Mandy.
Dave, I follow you on Facebook. I know exactly how much you get on your soapbox. Okay, you definitely give it a go occasionally.
I do.
I try to avoid politically hot sort of debates, because I always end up, I'm not a debater, so I tend to make an ass of myself, and then think, well, I don't have anything else to say, I'm just going to opt out of the conversation. So I don't get involved, but I do follow your little soapbox moments, and they go with nice pictures, so that's why I kind of engage.
Yeah,
particularly your pictures of the Craddock Four, and then also, I mean, you get on your soapbox quite a bit, dude.
Yeah, well, you see, I don't really work for anyone anymore. They don't hire me because, well, I'm an old white man now, so I can afford to speak up and say, this is wrong. I don't like that, and it's a freedom that you get when you're older. And I mean, after apartheid, I just said, well, I will never be silent again. When I see in justice, I will speak up.
Well, I'm glad, because I noticed you. Okay, so that works for me.
Ah, good.
Dave, are there any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to say thank you very much, and have a good night.
Well,
Dave, it's been incredible chatting to you.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone who was here for making the effort and the time, and thank you very much. And to you, Mandy, for giving me the platform.
It's a pleasure. I'm taking my soapbox
back. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Dave, I'm going to share the pictures to the Facebook page. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
It's been absolutely wonderful chatting to you. And well, we're waiting to see the table, the coffee table book that's coming out, or the series of the different things.
No, look, I don't know. It's books like that these days, I don't think there's much. You have to really fight to get the money to do that.
I know. It's very expensive.
So that's why I have like websites and things. And if people want to buy photographs that really move them or that they love, they can do that also. But coffee table books, well, maybe. I mean, one can always hope.
Absolutely. Always hope.
Yeah.
Can't live without hope. Thank you, David.
Okay.
Tomorrow night.
Thanks, Mandy.
Tomorrow evening, not tomorrow night, we're chatting to Judge Albie Sachs. So please,
good.
Are you coming to watch, Dave?
Well, he's a good man,
He is a good man.
He really is, yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Have a fabulous evening. Go well. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.